Folks, happy Friday and welcome to the Freedom for the Press podcast. My name is Jason Robertson. I'm here with my partner in crime,
Todd Peterson. Thanks for joining us, folks, on this pre-recorded podcast. Feels a little weird to say happy Friday as we are recording ahead of time. Of course, as our audience knows, it is Tariff Will's wedding this weekend, so we are happy to be down in Tennessee, happy to be at his wedding. But folks, thanks for catching the recorded version as we have so much to dive into still, Jason.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to our audience. Hopefully, our loyal folks are taking some time to watch. We actually have regulars that show up on Friday and mark this on their calendar. We love you guys. We appreciate our subscribers. So, yeah, as you're watching this right now, I'm sitting in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Todd will be traveling to Chattanooga. Tariff Will gonna be a heck of a shindig. Todd, we're wearing tuxes to the ceremony. Have you ever heard of such madness?
I'm trying to think outside of high school prom. I've never worn a tux before, Jason. This
really?
Is number two.
I was going to say, Jen, my loving wife, she actually had to get like an evening dress for Friday night and a dress for Saturday for the wedding. And she looked at me and she says, you know what, Jason? I actually am dressing better for Will's wedding than ours. And I'm like, yeah, who knew? Freaking Tariff Will. God love that guy.
No,
but as Todd said,
probably. Oh, go for it, Jason.
Go for it.
Airplane while you're watching, so crammed in a tube, getting patted down by TSA, the whole thing.
You remember, it's not gay if it's TSA. I got to get one of those T-shirts. But folks, we wanted to touch on a few huge topics this week, and full disclosure, we are recording this a couple days early, so some of the news might have changed. But the first thing we've got to dive into is this media narrative, the fake news reporting as it applies to immigration. And Todd, how do we want to frame up the immigration topic?
Well, I'll frame it up this way. I am disappointed right now with the Trump administration, Jason, because I want 50 million illegals or however many are in this country. I want them all out of here. And it's wild to me to listen to this outrage. I saw this graphic. It's been floating around like Clinton apparently deported 12 million, Obama 9 million, however many they did, in the millions. There were no court injunctions. There was no outrage. Donald Trump right now has deported maybe 100,000 dudes. And the worst of the worst, by the way, not just a random illegal plucked off the street. We're talking gang members, known violent criminals, sent packing, sent home. And to listen to the Democrat media narrative about this, you would think he was just going into homes of these sweet little families, plucking up babies out of their crib, and sending them to some nation that wasn't even of their origin. It is so backwards. But like I said, Jason, I want them all gone. So they're mad that he's sending anybody. I'm mad that he's not sending enough. The whole narrative is out of control, though.
Well, and I got to say, as I look at this, so when we talk immigrants, you're talking kind of three buckets in my mind. And there's more than that, but just to simplify it. Bucket one, somebody looks at America in another country, understands our values, understand what America's all about. Like Becky, who's a viewer of the show, she came from Canada. They look at that, they understand the Constitution, our rights and responsibilities, and they say, I want to be part of America. I'm going to apply to come to America, and it's going to take me a while. And those people come in, and we've said it on the show, we love them more than some Americans because they knew what they were getting into. They knew our values. They worked hard to get here. Love you. Thank you so much. Welcome to the country. The second bucket are straight up illegals. And those are people that just snuck in the back door, crossed the border illegally, hired a coyote, whatever it is, and they just crossed in Texas, oftentimes, or other countries along the southern border, and then just find refuge in Minnesota. Those people need to go home. The second group is the people that go to a port of entry. So they go to the official border spot and they say, hey, I'm a refugee. And the only way you get let in is if you say my life's in danger, I'm being politically persecuted. So if you're a Christian in a Muslim nation or things like that, not, hey, I'm broke, my country sucks, and gang violence is heavy, so I'm seeking asylum. Like, that's not what the asylum rules are for. These are like the white farmers in South Africa that we've talked about that we need to be a little careful how we talk about here. Those folks are going through some real times. They are refugees. And so many people abuse that where they come up, they report whatever's going on in their home country. And then they just let them into the country for however many years until their case gets heard. And it's probably ridiculous.
And Jason, the last two buckets you talked about, they don't match up with bucket number one saying, I like what America offers. I would like to be part of that process. The last two are just saying, what can I get for myself out of this? How much money is the government going to give me? How much stolen tax dollars can I receive in the forms of benefits? Oh, this Constitution you talk about, limited government rights. Don't care about that. Give me what's mine. And then I want to remake the country somehow into my old socialist hellhole that I abandoned ship. Let me vote Democrat and turn America into the very thing I claim to be fleeing from. It's all upside down.
Well, yeah, and it's funny if you think about that. Why do we have folks like, oh, in schools you need to teach 10 languages? We need to observe their customs and practices, not ours. We need, oh, you can't talk about Christ. Oh my goodness, that's awful. And why are we running out of public funds for all this support thing? Well, the reason is bucket 2 and bucket 3, like Todd said, they're coming here. They didn't accept the deal that bucket 1 did. Bucket 1 looked at what we did, said, I better learn English. They speak English in America. I better understand and practice their social cultures. And that's not saying like, hey, you have to follow our strict religion or whatever. You can practice a different religion, but we don't want to remake our country into Sharia law like a lot of these Muslim immigrants do. They're like, we run a Judeo-Christian democracy. Let's do that. That worked. That's what made an appealing landing spot. So I should be a part of that and try to make it better. Maybe make America great again.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Jason, but I see all of the communities cropping up around the Twin Cities suburbs, and they would like to remake a Somali community. You can do that in Somalia. I don't want them to do that here. Go do that in the country that you left, that you want to replicate here.
Right, yeah, and
we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys, the enemy. We're bigots, we're racists, we're xenophobes, we're all of that for simply pointing out that no. They're coming here because it's a good country, and we simply want to keep it a good country. We don't want to turn it into their country.
Right. And that's what's funny. And that's why this narrative resonates with a lot of young leftists and a lot of leftists in general. They don't understand and they don't appreciate that they were privileged to be born in the greatest country in the history of mankind, in my humble opinion. Like America, we got plenty of problems. We got plenty of things to fix, but name a better country that you'd want to live in right now. Name a better country in the history of mankind. You can't. Like what we've done here, what we've built here is remarkable. And, hey, if you want to tweak some things here and there, all for it. For me, I think like fixing the federal government, making it 10 times smaller would be amazing. But the foundational principles of liberty, freedom, self-reliance, those things should be non-negotiable. Like that's part of the deal. You should not be coming here to change us into what you left because your form of government's destroyed your nation. And that's why you showed up at our front door going, hey guys, will you let me in?
Yeah, but I think you touched on a big point too, Jason. At the end of the day, it is kind of two camps. It's the people that like America and want to keep America, and those leftists you alluded to, they don't like America. They wanted this to happen. They want its destruction. They want its demographic change, cultural change. They want a new constitution. They want to get rid of all of it because at the end of the day, they don't like this country and don't see it as worth saving.
And it's funny. That's why they're such inherently just miserable people too, because how can you... I don't even know, as you're sitting there with 20 food options, you can go on your phone, order 20 different fast food to show up at your house. You can go to a well-stocked grocery store. Your electricity works, your plumbing works. Your house in most places is relatively safe, not in the big cities, where they do the socialist stuff. I mean, how on earth are you not happy and just waking up every day going, thank God I was born in America? Like, can you imagine if I was born one of these other places that has adopted entirely different principles to what we have in America, and they failed, they suck, their countries run awfully, and like they can't even get like sanitation in some of these.
Yeah, if they're not happy in America, they're not going to be happy in an America that looks like China or North Korea. These people will always be miserable.
Well, and part of what we want to dig into today is this whole media narrative and about the border, about immigration, about how we need to change it. And Democrats are making a really insane play. They are making a hero of Mr. Maryland Man, they call him. We went into a deep dive last week. But for those who don't know, just to give a little context, there was the guy. He came into America at some point between 2012 and 14 as an unaccompanied minor. He found his way to Maryland, where he started hanging out with gang members. He was known to the local gang task force for hanging out with gang members. There were incidents that were documented of him having drugs, that sort of thing. And on his knuckles, he has a gang tattoo, and it's MS-13. So the M is a marijuana plant, as I forget what the S was. And then
accordingly, Trump supposedly photoshopped that in. If you are on the left and you're watching MSNBC, you're like, his knuckles don't have any tats. That's just a Trump superimposition on that image. That's where we're at.
Right. And I don't know a lot about gangs, but I know if I'm going to get a gang tattoo and hang out with gang members and I'm not in the gang, it's going to end poorly for me. It's like if you throw on a Hells Angels jacket and you're not a Hells Angel and you walk into a biker bar with Hells Angels, Todd, what are they going to do to you?
Well, if it's someone else's biker bar, they don't care. They're not going to believe me. They're going to see the jacket, and I am probably not leaving that establishment, at least on my own feet and of my own recognizance.
Right. So Democrats have said, okay. And then in 2019, he had his hearing. We showed the documents last week on the podcast. Go back, watch last week's episode. The judge said, you do not qualify for asylum. You need to go home. They issued a deportation order. Then they also offered a stay order, which said we can't send you back to Venezuela or to El Salvador because these gang members could be after you. Now, one would say, why would the gang members be after you? Maybe it's because you're involved in a different gang. I don't know. That's speculation. But just to be clear, in 2019, the judge said, you need to leave, but we can't send you here. That was the court order. We broke it down all in detail last week. So where the media starts spinning this up when they say he wasn't given due process or they made a mistake, the mistake was Trump sent him back to El Salvador, which is his home country. And they did that because the gang that they said they couldn't send him to El Salvador for is no longer exists. El Salvador's been cleaned up. It's in way better shape. So he is sent to his original country. The order the court gave said you can't because of the gang. The gang is no longer there. Todd, did I encapsulate it right?
That sounds pretty accurate. However, Democrats aren't going to see it that way. The media is not going to see it that way. This is literally the hill they're choosing to die on right now. We had sitting U.S. senators, congressmen and women fly down to El Salvador. I mean, Senator Chris Van Hollen actually sat down with margaritas, even though he said he never had a sip. He said that was all staged by Bukele. Oh, I wasn't having a margarita with this guy. But at the end of the day, I don't really care if he had a margarita or not. He flew down there on taxpayer expense to meet with I'll just say alleged because we're on Facebook, folks, alleged MS-13 gang member who also was accused of beating his wife. There's nothing good about this man, but your sitting U.S. senators are preferring to help him, elevate him, while ignoring their own constituents. And Jason, it does make me think, we're hearing about due process, send him home. How many of these guys were concerned about January 6th defendants that sat in pre-trial detainment for up to and even more than 1 year? As far as I can tell, that's not very due process-y. I didn't hear any outrage. I heard that they belonged there. Am I missing something?
No, and it's truly remarkable where the Democrats and the corrupt judicial system were using every technicality they could to keep the January 6ers in jail, delay their trials, make life miserable for them. Now, Democrats and their toadies in the media reporting are using every technicality they could to get this guy deported. Where a reasonable person who loved America would say, okay, the guy came into the country illegally. He kind of lied about why he was here. Maybe, maybe not. That's a gray area. But the reason he was here in the first place no longer exists in his home country. A judge said he should go somewhere. They just couldn't send him back there. Well, he's there. The gang, take all the technicalities, all the nonsense out of it. We should all agree, yeah, even if this guy cleaned up his act, he has a criminal gang member history. He's got gang tattoos. He's had police interaction. He was known to the gang task force. This is not a guy we need to fight for keeping in America unless you're a Democrat.
I got 2 points to make, Jason. Number one, I'm asking because I don't know. If he's an illegal immigrant, I said this last week, I don't care about the MS-13 necessarily. I mean, more reason to get rid of him. But let's just say he's an illegal here. He overstayed his welcome. He had a deportation order. What's the validity of saying, no, I'm the president. This is an illegal, and I'm going to enforce the existing laws and deport illegal aliens? If I boil this down, distill it down to its essence, you have Democrats trying to protect an illegal immigrant who, as far as I can tell, deserves to be deported along with everybody else that is an illegal immigrant.
And I've got to think this media narrative that the Democrats are trying to spin up appears to be falling flat on its face. Todd, should we play some of their own words for what they're spinning up?
Well, we've got James Carville here, and he is saying, remember, this is James Carville. It's the economy, stupid. That James Carville, you have to listen to him break this down and say, no, this is the hill.
Say, well, should we really fight on this turf, or should we fight more on ordinary people? And this we should fight on. You can't pivot to an economic history. Wait a minute. This is why we think we're a country. And if they do this to him, it's an old saying. First they came for whatever, and then they came for me. You know what? You know why you remember that saying? Because there's wisdom in it. There's real wisdom in it. And history has taught us that. And first they came for him, and then we're going to say no right there. We got to keep fighting this. I think this is worthy of being on the top agenda of things that we're going to fight over, is get this guy back home.
Todd.
3 points. I don't know about you, Jason. I really love how he quoted back the famous Niemöller poem. I think it was the trade unionists, the socialists, the Jews. But he said it was so powerful, worth remembering, and then couldn't remember any of that. And I know that's not the whole point of the video here, but I just couldn't help but notice, yes, there's so much wisdom in that you forgot it.
I was going to say things like, first, understand the clause. James Carville has no values. He only is a political operative. And he is seeing a window where the people that have been calling Trump and Elon Hitler and Nazis and fascists, this can further frame that image into Americans' minds. He is citing examples from the Holocaust where they rounded up Jews, put them in concentration camps, put them in work camps, and trying to create this image in your brain of first they came for them and then they came for us. Now, anybody with two functioning brain cells to rub together can see this story falls apart. The last line he said, Todd. Here, let me go back and let's just play this one more time.
Things that we're going to fight over is get this guy back home.
Get this guy back home. Todd, where's back home for him?
He was born in El Salvador. He's a citizen of El Salvador. He was a visitor to America, and we returned him to his home, El Salvador. So I am missing the part here where bringing him back to the United States is returning him home, Jason.
Yeah, let's be clear. He is home, James. Just so you know, you might not have realized that. The second thing is this narrative that they're doing. If we were doing awful things to folks, we would be locking them up and keeping them in America. People on the left fail to draw this distinction. Hitler rounded up people that were German nationals and citizens that were undesirable, moved them into concentration camps within the country. How on earth is it Hitler if you are rounding people up and sending them home? Now, granted, you don't like where he ended up, and it turns out they've confirmed he is not in a Venezuelan prison. Sounds like they're doing some investigation, and he's in like a low security prison or supervised, whatever. He's not in that prison that they like to show the images from. Trump likes to show the images too, because that's where all the gang members hold up. But I mean, think about the disconnect for a sec. If Trump was Hitler, he would not be sending them home. He would not be sending them back to their country of origin.
They would go to work for a while. Yep. Jason, the other question I have for our audience is more rhetorical. My understanding of a deportation, you are not a citizen here. We're going to send you home. We don't deport people and they all end up in prison. They just get dropped off in their home country. So for this guy to have to be dropped off in a prison and not just in El Salvador, don't you start asking the question of like, why did he get sent to a prison down there and not just to, I don't even know the city's names down there, San Salvador? Why didn't he just get dropped off in San Salvador in the streets and then resume his life down there? He got sent to a prison down there, folks. There's more to the story there as well.
Right. And we as a country don't get to tell El Salvador what they do with El Salvadorian citizens.
Don't care.
Which, like, everybody hopefully can agree, he is an El Salvadorian citizen who is now in El Salvador. Now, if you want to nitpick over, well, technically this or that. Now, what are Democrats pushing for? They are pushing for guys like this to get returned to the country, to go through a long adjudication process that's already been completed. And they want to just lock up the court systems, lock up the things. The Trump administration has actually like gone through and done the math. And they estimate just to deport the people they want to deport, the criminals and gang members and that sort of folks, just that pool of people would take 200 years to adjudicate. And Democrats are just trying to run out the clock. It's like your kids who are trying to run out the clock so they don't take a bath before they go to bed. They're like, if I just keep dragging my feet, not doing it, like they're not going to make me clean my room or take a bath or whatever before I go to bed. How do people not see this?
Wait long enough to get a Democrat president and then naturalize all these fools in here? I don't know, Jason. This is a pretty hardline stance, but I'm at the point where I'm ready for Trump to ignore the court system. All right, courts, good luck enforcing your order here, but I have the backing of the American people, and we're going to clean house. I don't like what that does, but if we're being honest, the left already ignores the court. If they don't get something they want, they just do something anyways. Nobody screamed when Joe Biden got a ruling from the Supreme Court about student loan forgiveness, and he said, we'll just do it another way here. That's all they do. They love the Constitution when they can weaponize a narrative against their political opponent. Otherwise, they hate the Constitution. That is the whole essence of the Democrat Party. How can we upend this country? So when they scream about constitutionality and respect the courts, it is falling on deaf ears over here.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's like we just finished Easter last weekend, and you see all these posts from people that are not believers and not followers of Christ who are trying to tell Christians how to Christian. And it's like, no, you need to be like welcoming for all these people because Jesus. And it's like, you don't even you don't even know what Christianity is. You haven't read the Bible. You don't go to church. Who are you to tell me? And it harkens back to that clip from a few weeks ago we played from that Pokemon podcast where it was like one guy says, like, I love how people who don't know anything about what they're talking about choose to weigh in on something they don't know. And you hit the nail on the head too. Part of the pushback I see on the right is, Trump's got to watch what he does, because as soon as he does that, it's going to let the left to be more bold. Folks, 2020, whatever you think about what happened in 2020, we have our opinions. We're not on Rumble only right now. We're streaming on other platforms. But for the Rumble only audience, you know our stance on 2020. And then after that, they throw Peter Navarro in jail. They've thrown Steve Bannon in jail. They've locked up January 6 people. If you were an attorney who dared work with President Trump to figure out how to challenge the election, you had your law license stripped. Like, think of that for a second. And now, like, what else are they going to do? Like, I mean, they have already completely gone off the rails. I'm with Todd, fully support. Let's go ham. Send them.
Get them all out of here. And then I think one more comment on this video, and we got others to play, folks, but the slippery slope argument, it's so delicious when a leftist is arguing over slippery slopes. Like, that's all we're doing over here. It's like, do you have any limiting principles as a Democrat? No. Like, this is where it ends up if we follow your thought process. But he's trying to connect the dots to say, if we deport a violent illegal gang member, somehow we might deport American citizens, because that's a natural evolution of this process. They're just lying to you. Like, no, I just want to deport illegal aliens. That's it. That's the whole point.
Right. And leftists, I think they actually worry about the slippery slope because that's their whole strategy. I mean, let's take gay marriage. We only want to get married so we get tax benefits and whatnot. Now you've got women playing in men's sports and small children cutting their genitals off. Like that is the definition of the slippery slope. I use the example about rock music. I remember when I was young, like if you listen to Motley Crue and shout at the devil, like Kipper Gore was really mad, like, oh, we shouldn't do that. We need warning labels. Now you watch a music award show and it's like you're watching softcore porn. And part of me is like, maybe Tipper Gore was right 20, 30 years ago. I don't really know, Todd. What do you think?
I don't want to give Tipper Gore any credit, but there is some validity to that argument.
Where do we go next?
Do you want to go to our home state of Minnesota since we're talking about immigration?
Oh my God.
Forward me, Jason. You shared this video on our channel here and said maybe we should play this for our audience. Folks, where we live in Minnesota, I think we have talked about Tim Walz's tyranny long enough here, but this was news to me. I knew we had a lot of people here, Somali, Hispanic, from everywhere. You can go down to Minneapolis now and like, it's not even Minnesota anymore. You're like, oh, Minnesota's a white state. No, not in the cities. It's not. This dude's going to lay out how much it's going to cost the state of Minnesota just to pay for illegal healthcare, I think it is.
And before we do that, Todd, just to put in perspective, the Minnesota tax rate is for your income is about 10%, just under 10%.
State income tax. Yep.
Yeah. So, and we have some of the higher property taxes in America. We're not as bad as like a Chicago, but like my house, my property tax, like $5,000 a year. And I don't live in a super fancy house. And we have a budget deficit right now. So we used to have a surplus. Democrats spent all the money. Now we have a deficit. So we are heavily taxed. We spend a ton. So chew on that as you watch this video.
This year, Governor Walz has proposed more than $1 billion in cuts to nursing homes and services for families with disabilities. But he has stood by and continued to support taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants. The cost estimate for free health care for illegal immigrants.
Free health care for illegals. Jason just got done talking about the state taxes, 10%, property taxes, mine have doubled in 7 years. I pay for my own premiums, and as a small business owner, that's rather expensive. I don't have insurance as part of a W-2 package, but if you're an illegal, free healthcare, here's how much it costs.
Was $220 million in the February forecast. However, we have some new information that we're going to share today that shows that the costs will far exceed these initial estimates. 3 months since this program started, enrollment is triple what DHS estimated it would be for the current year. For fiscal year 2026, DHS estimated 5,784 enrollees.
Jason, how many illegals are in Minnesota? Did anyone really think just 6,000 of these dudes were going to sign up for this program?
They did. Because Democrats are stupid.
By April 1st, total enrollees have exceeded 17,000. We should not be surprised by this dramatic increase because this program creates an incentive for illegal immigrants to come here to Minnesota. Only a handful of states offer comprehensive taxpayer-funded health care for all illegal immigrants. We could easily see the costs of health care for illegal immigrants that are funded by taxpayers exceed $600 million over 4 years. Unlike nursing home and disability services, Minnesota Care for illegal immigrants is not eligible for a federal match. If we redirected this funding to nursing homes and disability services, it could have a more than $1 billion impact.
What a gigantic middle finger to everybody here.
Yeah, I got to say, it kind of goes back to where we started. The only people that support this are people that hate America, hate working people, don't think they need to be productive, think the only way they can survive is a government handout. So, like, if the government's being unfair to me and they're not these crazy lefties who like rely on the government to, big daddy government. Well, of course, everybody can be on big daddy government. Meanwhile, guys like Todd and I, who are small business owners or taxpayers or productive citizens, we are the one paying for that. And I love the point he made too. You're an illegal, you arrive in the United States, you're down in Texas. Where are you going to go? Are you going to go to the place that gives you free healthcare, free housing, free food, free everything? Like, that's just reacting to incentives. It just makes my brain hurt.
I did the math, Jason. I think he dropped the number 225 million and 17,000 enrollees. That's over $13,000 of our tax money per person right now. And there is no end in sight, because why would there be? Do you want to talk about a slippery slope? Let's design a program for 6,000 illegals to get free healthcare. And I guess we'll fund it as many sign up for it. Like, they had no limiting principle on this. They had no end in sight. I honestly think that was the plan. They just want to get everybody hooked on this. And then they also just want to remind you how much they hate you. I don't want any socialized healthcare. There are so many reasons why it's wrong. If it exists, then give it to American citizens. It'll get abused. I will be pissed off about it, but not as much pissed off as I am right now that hardworking Americans are going without, and these illegals are getting it and encouraged to get it. How are we not all outraged by this? And every single Democrat voter out there that pulls the lever and says, I'm a better person than you, I know better, I'm more virtuous than you, and I vote Democrat and see how good a person I am. Not one of these clowns has ever offered to pay out of their own pocket for an illegal immigrant. This is all empty, virtuous signaling. And I hate all of it, Jason. I started calm, and now I'm fired up.
Let's see what else he has to say.
Because each dollar saved on illegal immigrant health care is turned into $2 for nursing homes and disability services due to the federal match. Legislative Republicans are proposing to put the most vulnerable Minnesotans first in these budget discussions.
So not only did they give tax dollars to illegals, they stole it from senior citizens, disabled American citizens that live in Minnesota. And they didn't even steal 1-to-1. They stole 2-to-1 because there's no federal match, he said, for the illegal health care. Federal dollars could have come back into Minnesota to help pay for the needs of these senior citizens and disabled folks. But no, F you, say the Democrats. We hate you. We hate this country. We hate Americans in it. We are going to eventually just get votes from these will be eventually naturalized dudes in this country. That is all this is.
Well, yeah, because when you get people in and you hook them on government free stuff, they're going to continue to vote for the people that give them government free stuff. Because even legal immigrants from the same country who worked hard to get here, who are working hard to do roofing or whatever jobs they're doing, they don't want their money coming to the freeloaders either. That's what's funny. Like legal people that come to America, like they tend to vote pretty conservative because they're like, wait a second, I don't want to be on the hook paying for these clowns that just showed up and expect the free stuff. And I got to say, a few years ago, my father-in-law got placed in assisted living in Minnesota. And the Ronster loved him to death. He lived there for a couple years. He went from kind of assisted to full assisted to memory care. They were we paid a fortune. They were underfunded. Like the facilities were not great. We put them in the best we could. We visited them a couple times a week. But at some point, where are your values? Are you going to pay for an American citizen who lived in the state for a long time, who paid a bunch of taxes, to be taken care for and treated dignified through the end of their life? Or are you going to invite an illegal who comes in the country illegally into your state, and then that's where your money's going to go? And then the Democrats are like, well, no, we just need to tax people more, tax the billionaires, and then both can be taken care of. Folks, you can't keep taxing people. Todd and I give 10% of what we make. So right now, if one of you is like, we love this podcast, I'm going to do a $10 super chat or whatever it's called. $10 tip to you guys. Todd and Jason, thanks for doing the show on Friday. I'm going to give you $10. $1 goes to the state of Minnesota, like right off the top. Think of that. And then like $3 goes to the federal government, minus whatever the platforms take. But it's lunacy, Todd. It's lunacy.
Yeah, who knew? Our audience, when they subscribed to the channel, they had no idea they were funding healthcare for illegals in Minnesota, Jason.
Oh my God. It just blows me away. Where do we go next, Todd?
Well, I liked this clip in no particular order. We got to interview one of those man on the streets here. They caught some person with a microphone in front of their face. This. And this is how they reacted to the whole Maryland man narrative.
In Maryland, designated MS-13 terrorist, and Donald Trump deported him. How does that make you feel?
I feel safer.
He gotta go. He gotta go.
Need to go. I mean, that's it.
But he was a father.
But he's still a terrorist.
Okay. I mean, but there's children living without fathers now.
He should have picked the tree, so he picked to be a terrorist instead of worrying about his children.
The Democrats, they want him back. They say he was wrongfully deported. He has a wife and a kid who's a citizen. They're calling this a national emergency. Is this a national emergency?
I wouldn't call it a national emergency. We got more things going on.
We have more things, more fish to fry.
I just found out about it, so I don't think so. What kind of national emergency? For what? What is the emergency for?
Ain't no national emergency, no.
He was accused of hitting his wife twice and was a suspected human smuggler. Was he wrongfully deported?
No. He need to go.
If he's a smuggler, yeah, he needs to be deported.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
Your senator here, Chris Van Hollen, he flew to El Salvador where this guy was deported. He met with them, had lunch with them, had margaritas on the table. What's up with your senator?
I have no idea, but I do believe that was a waste of taxpayer dollars.
You agreeing with somebody whooping their wife, terrorizing where you live, then you don't need to live here either.
Senator Van Hollen, you need to come see me, Mr. Coley, because you doing like that. You need to take care of home before you go in other states.
I just got to pause it because, yes, it was intentional who they picked out for these interviews. If you're watching the video, you can see that he's interviewing all blacks. And I'm fine with that because this is what we have been saying. The black community is getting replaced on purpose because Democrats take them for granted, take their vote for granted, and they're replacing them with their new favorite group, illegal immigrants. And yeah, these people should be all pissed off. They should all be pissed off.
Everybody should be pissed off. And this is what we're talking about, too. Like, the only needle Democrats can try to thread on there is, due process. Like, that's the only leg they have to stand on. Anybody with any rational, like I say, two brain cells you can rub together and form a thought is going to say, yeah, this guy should go home. And we didn't even talk about his wife filed an order of protection because he whooped her butt in 2021. He got pulled over in 2022 with a bunch of undocumented in his vehicle and a bunch of money. And then they told him not to investigate it. Like, this is not a good guy. And I'm all for due process. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know how much due process you got to give to somebody illegally who's already been told to go home. Like, how much due process? How much court do we need to send this guy to? How many things do we need to do? He's already been in there once. They said go home. We just can't send him there because of the gangs. The gangs are solved. Why are we even debating this?
And again, I love how he presented it. This dude hit his wife. He was illegal, known gang, runs down the list of all the things. Of course, everyone with common sense will say, yeah, get him out of here. And I love the response. I think two different people said it. I feel safer. And yes, that is the appropriate response. You should feel safer. I want to feel safer. And who are you going to prioritize? When we have this conversation, Carville said it. Yes, this is the hill we're going to die on here. They're going to uphold, kill Mara Abrego Garcia, Mr. Maryland man. What they're doing then is they have to ignore the victims, the would-be victims of illegal criminals. So Laken Riley's name is most prominent, so I'll just use her name here, but there are countless victims of illegal aliens who commit awful acts of violence. Where are the supporters of them? How you have Democrats that are saying, this is my guy, and they are ignoring the people here. Families have had to bury their children. Spouses have had to bury their loved ones. Not a peep.
And I got to say, Todd, what is the acceptable number of American citizens killed by illegal immigrants?
0 should be the only answer. There should be 0 that we tolerate. 1 is too many. And Democrats will be like, well, they don't commit as many crimes as native-born Americans, so it's not a problem. The only difference, of course, is that we are supposed to be here, and that is a fact of life. And yes, let's get tough on criminals here. There should be 0 from illegals because they shouldn't be here in the first place.
Yeah, and I
I don't
love
know
how
why we have to
someone.
explain this stuff sometimes, Jason. I'm just are people really that dense out there? But
Well,
apparently,
yeah, and it's funny. We'll both follow like lefty social media. We have friends or family that are lefties, and it's like if you were at a private golf club, if you live in a gated community, if you are shopping at Costco and you pay to get membership to Costco, and you see somebody sneak into Costco or your private whatever, or enter your private club, you are going to go up to the doorman and go, "Hey, that guy's not supposed to be here." But somehow your gifted membership as an American that you don't appreciate, you are completely okay if people trespass. So think of that. A lefty will lose their mind if you go into Costco and you're not supposed to, but people coming in our country when they're not supposed to, well, we should just let them in.
yeah, and I don't know if my sister-in-law ever tunes into the show, Jason, but a couple of years ago, she and her husband were looking to buy a house. They were living in an apartment, ready to upgrade. And I asked her, like, are you going to go live in North Minneapolis? And North Minneapolis is like our version of the South Side, like certainly much tamer, but demographically, criminality, all that is the same. Because she believes in all of it as a teacher. She was actually moving jobs too. I said, are you going to go work in Brooklyn Center where I worked? I worked there. No. She got a job in rural white Minnesota. She moved to Maple Grove, which is a very ritzy second or third ring suburb of the Twin Cities there, mostly white. And I'm just looking at her like, those are the decisions you made after everything you've told me about your value system and what you believe in and what you preach in your classroom. They're all frauds. Yeah, I'm going to go live in Maple Grove and then teach out here in St. Michael. Me, Mr. Bigoted MAGA, I worked in Brooklyn Center. I lived in the inner city, and she couldn't even do that.
It's just funny. Now, Todd, it might have made Easter uncomfortable, but did you ever ask her directly? Like, why are you doing that?
I did. I did. Actually, at Easter, we had some more teacher talk there. They never include me in their teacher talk, by the way. They knew I taught. They knew I was an assistant principal. They never care what I have to say about any of that because I'm not a real teacher, because I don't believe the right things that real teachers believe in. But one of my wife's cousins was there from New Jersey, telling us how glorious her New Jersey school was, this failure of a school. But then she was telling us about the other schools out there, and they're really rough because the kids get in fights every day, and different gangs come to these schools, and I could never teach there. My wife actually asked her, he's like, well, why wouldn't you teach there? You believe in all this stuff. They can't do. They're. Yep.
I just don't get how these people can't live their values, live their virtues, and yet they will be the first ones to critique you as a Christian and tell you how you're supposed to be. And it's like, hey, how about, like we have family members that are liberals, crazy blue-haired liberals in the metaphorical sense. They're not all have blue hair, but they like you look at how much they pay net in taxes because they don't make much money. I mean, this just in, if you make 40, 50 grand a year, you pay virtually zero in taxes. And yet they'll always post stuff on like, I want my tax dollars to go to this or that. It's like, you aren't paying any tax dollars. What are you talking about? So I don't know how you can scream about what you think you should be getting when you don't even pay taxes.
Yeah, I mean, those people wouldn't vote if you and I were king, Jason. You don't contribute to society, then you don't get a say in society.
Right. But hopefully we see more of this resonating with everyday Americans where they see through this nonsense and they're like, and I mean, I got to say, if you're going up to a black person talking about due process, and we've talked about it before on the show, but like there's been many times where blacks in America, especially, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, were not given fair due process. Even if you want to go into the crack era of the 90s, there were times where they were treated unfairly. And you're going to look at these people who really lived through family members or their grandparents really being treated unfairly, not given due process. And you're going to be like, wait a second, these guys, like nobody's saying he's innocent. Nobody's saying he didn't sneak in illegally. Nobody's saying he wasn't a member of the gang. They phrase that really careful. They say it hasn't been proven. Not that he isn't. It's like, oh, it hasn't been adjudicated. Just because Even judges have said he appears to be in a gang. Like, they haven't had a trial on that. Like, you don't have a trial for that.
I am all for people having rights in this country, Jason. But the Babylon Bee said it perfectly. I should have pulled that up for the thing here. They're like, someone that broke all the laws to come to the country wants all the laws applied to them before they're forced to leave, or something to that effect. Like, no, you're an illegal. You get abbreviated due process. Are you an illegal? There you go. That was your process. Goodbye, friend. Like I said, I want them all gone. I don't want due process for them. If we verify their status and they are an illegal, then they go on the next airplane home. That's it.
Truly remarkable. Todd, where do we go next here?
All right. Well, I'm going to cut off some. We have Liz Warren, little Liz Warren here, trying to defend her defense of Joe Biden. Joe Biden was fine. Everybody said he was fine. I still can't believe we don't talk about this more. The biggest scandal of the entire administration was the media and politicians' cover-up of his health. They all knew he was awful, and they said he was the best version of Joe Biden ever. So here's Liz Warren when she gets asked about that.
And this is funny, too. Liz Warren's appearing on a podcast. So Democrats are now trying to invade the podcast space. And this, as you can see from the image of the guy, I don't think he's a real right-wing guy. But even he is asking the obvious question to Liz Warren.
Saying that President Biden had a mental acuity. He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline. And I hadn't at that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. You know, the thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet.
I don't know who this podcaster is. I love that he's not letting this go, though. This is a great interview. He's probably some communist voter. I want AOC for president. But in this moment right here, he is holding Liz Warren to the fire, so I have to give him credit for that. Man, it is so obvious she's lying. The silence, the look, and he gives her the look back like, really?
Yeah, oh my God, go back and like see that face he makes.
He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is face. Not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Look.
Is not praise.
Fair enough.
That's the face of somebody who knows she's been caught lying. Like,
fair enough. Fair enough.
Fair enough. Look, the question is, what are we going to do now?
So let's just ignore all that. What are we going to do now, says Liz Warren. I don't want to do now. I want to put you in prison for lying.
So let me put this in perspective, Liz. You guys were having a nominee you didn't like. You swapped in Joe Biden in 2020. So go back to there. Like, there were shenanigans with, like, Tulsi Gabbard was doing good, who's serving in the Trump administration. There were other people. Kamala dropped out. They were 3-4 states in. They're like, okay, we're either going to end up with Tulsi Gabbard or communist Bernie Sanders. Let's break the glass, bring in old dead Joe. And thank God it was during COVID. We can leave him in the basement so nobody sees how idiotic he is. And Liz Warren, one of the prominent members of the Democrat Senate, was spent time with him. And I mean, we just watch videos, and anybody who's been around an old person, you can see when they've just gone off the rails. And you might get flashes of, oh, Uncle Bob, or I use Ron, my father-in-law, as an example. There were times you could sit there and for 5 minutes you got sharp, I'm there, Ron. The other hour you spent there, he was off in the woods, man. And like, look at Liz Warren just lying and the podcaster calling her out. Phenomenal.
And the other thing they always ignore, like, well, I saw him personally or I didn't see him that much, so it's hard to say. DC has got to be the gossip capital of the world. Everybody talks there. It was an open secret what was going on. Anyone that spent 2 seconds with Joe would have been telling everybody else, hey, I got this close to the president. And by the way, he belongs in a nursing home right now. They all knew. They all lied to you. They lied to your face, as they always do. I always ask the question, Jason, like, we know this was a lie. They straight up lied. If you're a Democrat voter, don't you ask yourself, like, what else are they lying to me about? This can't be just
Yeah,
like an
it's funny
accident.
you say that because I always draw that comparison where, like Todd and I do business, and we had a call with a new guy we want to bring into the business maybe today. And we talked about honesty and integrity and that kind of thing. And it's like, once you lie to me once, I'm going to really probably not be able to trust you again, because if you're going to lie to me once, you're going to lie like about other things. And, for me, like when somebody's unfaithful, I get really concerned about that, because if you're going to be unfaithful to your significant other that you married and promised in front of God you're going to be with forever, like, even if you haven't lied to me, like, that's a really bad thing. And all these the Democrat voters, and like this poor guy is just asking the obvious question. And how on earth you really want to talk about Signalgate with Pete Hegseth when you had somebody who belonged in a nursing home being president, his wife sitting in on meetings, a crackhead son sitting on meetings, which, oh, by the way, how many board of directors is Hunter Biden surfing on right now that Joe's out of politics? That would be 0. I mean, this stuff, even Democrats, even your most dense Democrats can't even fathom what this is.
I have to see the face one more time, Jason.
Oh, I love it.
Here, there it is. Okay, I have
that
no
is
idea.
Every Democrat.
I love it.
Oh,
Todd, yeah, it's interesting, like Democrats in the podcast space, because Democrats have no real ideas. They're not grounded in anything. Like, it's just unbearable to listen to. It's just their same empty talking points and pablum, and they use all the same academic jargon, but they never talk about anything. There's zero substance. I just can't imagine tuning into this guy's show with Liz Warren and like, I'm going to get something really enlightening in this next hour. That just doesn't happen.
Well, and I'll give him credit for it too. Like, God love the guy. He's actually like trying to ask a real question, and like Todd said, like, people are going to start waking up. And I mean, this exemplifies what the media is. And we've covered on this show ad nauseum the media lies, the cover-ups. We've talked about it with the immigration. But Todd, do we want to stick our toe into the independent journalism market?
I love this clip. Yeah, we might have to wrap up, folks. It's almost going to be an hour here, and appreciate you tuning in. Jason, I really miss the live audience. I miss bouncing ideas off of our comment section. I miss hearing from you folks, seeing who's around today. We're making it happen. Thanks for watching the recording here, but it's definitely not the same. So I'm looking forward to next Friday. This clip, though, to set it up, folks. Here, you want to jump in there, Jason?
I was going to say, what we need to do? It will be, for those who don't know, the first time all 4 members of our business are in the same place at the same time together. We'll get a picture of the 4 of us. We'll share it on next week's podcast. Absolutely. So you can see Crazy Mike and Tariff Will again. And see me in a tux, which I don't dress up much. This is kind of my work uniform.
I somehow will have to incorporate us and our tuxes on like the intro video too. Maybe
I love
Trump dance or something.
Yeah, can we do the music with you and I just doing the Trump dance?
Yeah.
I think that would be spectacular. All right, so frame up this video clip.
Her name is Tara Palmieri. She's an independent journalist. Hang on to that thought here. So she goes around and she reports independently of what the left wing and the right wing media say. Very enlightened individual here. She's sitting down on Tim Pool's show, and the idea of the fine people hoax comes up. And this independent journalist, this hoax is now 8 years old, plenty of time to debunk. She is astounded by the fact that the media edited the clip. She is not making this up. She is genuinely shocked that she still holds on to the fine people hoax. And I don't even think she's convinced at the end of the clip that it is a hoax. This is a pretty wild moment right here.
Which he did not.
He said there were good people on both sides.
He said, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis or the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally.
Is that the full quote?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
You didn't know that.
I mean, I have to look back on it.
Wait, now can you pull up the video of it just so you know, because we're wrong about the Hegseth stuff.
I think my setup was longer than the clip, but folks, these people are out there walking, they're driving, they're raising kids, they're voting. One of the easiest hoaxes to debunk, all you have to do is watch an extra 10 seconds of some speech from Donald Trump almost 8 years ago. And these people are like, not real. He didn't call them fine people.
Yeah, I got to say, I look at the hoaxes for Donald Trump, and everybody had their like what you want to do for a living moment. I saw the lies about Trump. I was working in the digital space, and I remember for me, and I've told the story before, I was watching the drink bleach press conference. I watch Cuomo and Trump every day. I watch a Trump press conference. My wife gets home. I'm like, oh my God, I watched this amazing press conference. They were talking about UV lights and different things they can do and things they're testing for COVID. Hopefully we can get through this. And this is at the point where some of us were a little suspicious of what was going on anyways. And then we like settled in, we made dinner, we turned on the TV, and they're like, Donald Trump told people to drink bleach. And I'm like, he never said that. He never did that. And like and I just saw this, and this narrative spins, and oh my God, I can't believe Trump said drink bleach and all this. And that's why that was my inspiration for Freedom from the Press. When I named the company, I named it Freedom from the Press. That was the name of the podcast because the press lied. The press could have stood up, raised their hand, said, this is not true, folks. Like Donald Trump, we hate him. We think he's a clod, whatever they think, but this is a lie. The Fine People hoax, we've debunked it. Todd, what's that website guy you deal with?
American Debunk. Yeah, I don't know if he's ready to go public with his name yet. I've met with him a couple times, chatted, will reply on X, and he created this fantastic website. Scott Adams has referenced it, but AmericanDebunk.com. And this dude has amassed such an impressive library of all the hoaxes that we've gone through, especially the first administration with Donald Trump, but then even during his run up to the next election in 2024. It tells you what the hoax was, how it got created, how they ginned it up, what the real proof is, and he debunks it, as the website name says. But it is a fantastic resource. I leaned heavily on that when I did my own 2.5-hour podcast when I launched American Tribune Live. 2.5 hours, Trump hoaxes nonstop, and you're just thinking like, this is kind of easy. Like it's a lot of work for him to assemble that, but when you distill down any nerve, you're like, man, this is really easy to debunk. I can't believe people fell for this. And they fell for it again and again and again. And they keep believing the media. You're just like, folks, you got lied to so much, and you'll admit you got lied to, and you still don't change course.
And I got to say, the Fine People hoax, and we've debunked it on the podcast for those who don't know, Donald Trump in Charlottesville was talking a very honest discussion we need to have as Americans. There were good people on the take down the statue side, good people on the keep the statue side up. Donald Trump said there was very fine people on both sides. The media cut the clip. The very next sentence was, I'm not talking about the white nationalists, the white supremacists. Those people deserve to be condemned unequivocally. The media cut that sentence off, played the first one on repeat with images of the white nationalists. Joe Biden declared that was the reason he ran for president in 2020. This was not a minor thing. This was a huge part. And this woman, I've never concerned her content really. She was on Tim Pool last night. She's going to be an independent journalist, and she doesn't even know about the Fine People hoax. That's why you need to be discerning with what content you consume. And like she's had Laura Loomer on her show. She's had some right-wing people. I think she's trying to do both the right-wing, left-wing, cover it down the middle thing, but just criminal malpractice that she doesn't cover that.
It's kind of a litmus test. When you enter a conversation with some you don't know, just ask them, did Donald Trump call neo-Nazis fine people? And listen to their reply. You're either dealing with a brainwashed, unserious moron or someone at least willing to engage in a conversation in good faith. If they say, yes, he called them fine people, just walk away. Unless you like pushing buttons like I do sometimes. I don't know, Jason. I think at this wedding this weekend, I would assume most people would prefer our content over other outlets' content, let's say from political persuasions. But man, if there's some like left-wing out there, I'm going to town.
I'm going to go ham. They got top shelf liquor, they said there, Todd. And I'm like, I am going to, pour me a cold one and let's go. And here's what's funny, like true story. I tell people I have friends on the left, like my business partner on some rental properties that we own together. He's a Democrat voter. He's a normie Democrat. They exist. People who thinks a lot of this stuff's stupid and whatnot. My buddy Jim, I get together every couple weeks. By the way, Todd, he asked about you again. Some week he wants
lunch,
you. Yeah. Pizza Ranch every other Saturday, 11 o'clock. You can bring the kids. He just wants to hang out with you. Watches a podcast sometimes. But I remember we met to do his taxes after this was going down. and he brought up the fine people. I'm like, you realize that's fake. That didn't exist. And he's like, what are you talking about? I pulled up the video clip right on my phone. I played the full clip. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. 3 weeks later, when we were talking, like he had forgot he had saw the clip. I'm like, literally, I showed you the clip of what he said. But no. They keep saying he called neo-Nazis fine people. So I'm like, dude.
That is an oof right there. I'll have to ask Jim if I see him. Hey, did Trump call him fine people? We'll see what he says.
Oh my God, you totally need to. You totally need to. Oh, are we not going to do the financial literacy clip?
Oh, we lost that one. I didn't see Besant in there. All right, we'll finish with financial literacy. Let me find it if you want to set it up.
I just want to set it up. So here's what's funny is we're having a debate as a country. Should we eliminate the Department of Education? And it was funny. I saw this clip, and I think this makes one of the best points I've ever heard just about all the DEI narrative, about all the things. And well, play the clip. Let's hear what they got to say.
Should care about financial literacy. Whether you are a student with a summer job or a part-time job during school, whether you're in college, whether you're starting your career, or whether you are at the end of your career, making good financial choices creates economic security. And look, it's fun. You learn about the markets, you learn how to properly allocate resources, and there's a big payoff over the long term for something you can do early in your career.
The point to this that really rang home is we have had a Department of Education since the 70s. Donald Trump's trying to eliminate it. Everybody wants to complain about student loan forgiveness or how much free money we need to give anybody, citizens, illegals, all that. Let it sink in for a second that what he's talking about is how do we teach American students financial literacy before they leave high school. Like you leave high school knowing you're a white person, so we hate you, in 1619 was the real foundation of America, and George Floyd was a hero. But you don't learn how to make a budget. You don't learn how to plan financially. You don't learn why you need to be in a 401k. You don't learn how to do your taxes or what tax breaks even are or any of that stuff. That's why the Department of Education needs to go. Folks, you've had 30, 40, 50 years, however many years it was, to make sure that we're producing competent citizens. The literacy rate on just basic financial principles are huge. And I thought this was really a great point. Like, how on earth can you get out of high school and sign up for hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans, not even understanding the basics of finance, Todd?
I don't get it. I do know that if you're 18 and try to take out a 6-figure business loan, you will get denied. But if you do want to take out a 6-figure student loan, you will get that immediately. So, but Jason, speaking of financial literacy, stock market's up and down. Now might be a good time before we close out to hear from our partners over at Goldco, in case you're in the stock market and you want to find an alternative investment. So, folks, listen up. Right now, it looks like the government's pushing for a digital dollar, which could mean every penny you spend could be tracked and controlled by the government. If that's true, then your entire life could depend on people you don't know, like, or trust. That's why smart Americans are opting out and putting some of their savings into real gold and silver. So to help, you can go to handsoffmywealth.com, handsoffmywealth.com to get a free 2024 gold IRA kit from our partners at Goldco. It shows how to protect your hard-earned money with physical gold and silver, even if it's still in a retirement account. And as an American citizen, you could score up to $10,000 in free silver just for safeguarding your savings. At the very least, arm yourself with knowledge about the options here. Don't be a sheep. Go to handsoffmywealth.com, handsoffmywealth.com, or click on the link in the video description now to get your free 2024 gold IRA kit now.
I had to give one more plug because we are not only Goldco where we encourage people to go there, we're customers too. And one thing I get from Goldco that I love, you can get a sleeve of these 1 ounce silvers. And it's just U.S. currency. It's 1 ounce of silver. When we started doing these, they were worth about $30. Right now, they're worth about $33. So they hedge against inflation. And if things ever go wild, which I don't know if you guys are paying attention, like a lot of weird economic stuff going on, this will never, no matter what this is worth in dollars, this is going to be worth a lot of loaves of bread. And I like silver because if it ever comes down to it where you need to exchange it for goods and services, a little gold bar is kind of hard to swap unless you're buying a car. Like you get a little tube of these, there's 20 of them in there, and they're about $30 a piece. And like diversify, protect yourself. It's a great investment. And we're proud to be part of the Goldco family.
We are. You know who else loves it, Jason? My kids. So they have their little toy cash registers. And one time they came upon my sleeve of silver dollars, and they thought these would look great in our toy cash register. So I have these copper 1 ounce coins, silver 1 ounce coins. Thank goodness they haven't found the gold yet. My kids think it's awesome that they're playing with this. And I've had family and friends walk in. They're like, you got like $400 in coins in those cash registers. I'm like, yep. I mean, what's it going to do? Leave the house? Like, I know it's here somewhere, but not very responsible. That is a parenting fail. Don't do what I'm doing. But they're having fun right now.
Oh, God, love it. And hopefully your kids are learning the value. And Hutch Bailey, who used to be on a podcast with me, always had a great example. He's like, 50 years ago, an ounce of silver was worth 10 loaves of bread and $10. So you can take your ounce of silver, trade it for $10 US or 10 loaves of bread. Now, 40 years later, an ounce of silver is worth $30, but it's still only worth 10 loaves of bread. But it's still worth 10 loaves of bread. So you need $30 US to get 10 loaves of bread, or your one silver bar will still get you 10 loaves of bread. I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Really good way to explain it. So,
I mean, in my defense of my kids getting the silver, like that will be theirs one day. I'm not buying it for me. I am buying it for them. So they're just getting early practice.
God love them. Well, on that note, Todd, should we cut them loose? Thank everybody for joining. Ran a little over an hour. Hopefully everybody's okay with that. We couldn't do Rumble only. I got to admit, the Rumble crowd's my favorite crowd. If you're not subscribed, rumble.com, the American Tribune. Todd does a show, American Tribune Live, Tuesdays, Thursdays. We do this show on Fridays. Love the community we're building over there. Some people are giving a little financial support. Who knows? Maybe somebody gave us some money earlier on a tip so that we can give $1 to the Minnesota state government.
Thank you for tipping the state of Minnesota.
Oh, love you. But we love you guys. We love our audience. Hopefully pre-recording worked okay. Next Friday, we'll be back. We'll have some pictures of us yahoos in tuxes. We'll recap. Will's on his honeymoon. We'll recap kind of how the ceremony was, because this is going to be a bizarre experience for me, Todd. I think it sounds like it might be for you too.
It's going to be a surreal environment. We're just some hookums up here in Minnesota, and we are going down to some fancy folks down there, it sounds like. But Jason, I bought my tux. I'm going to wear my tux next Friday for the podcast, I think.
Oh, really? You bought it?
I bought it.
Was that the Amazon one?
Don't say that out loud. Folks, I got a great deal. I should drop like an Amazon link that gets an affiliate code for us. But I bought a tux on Amazon, and you wouldn't know the difference. It looks great. Tried it on last night, gave the kids a little dress show. They're just like, Dad, try on your tux for us. So I did. And I mean, it'll work. It'll pass. No one will be paying attention to me. You got the bride and the groom up there. You got this dude we've never met from Minnesota. So I think it'll be better.
Man. So, and it really was pretty decent. I was worried about that. I went with the tux rental. I bought a nice suit, but a tux rental. And I'm like, oh God, I wonder how that was. Jen also ordered her dresses on the internet. She got them from like Macy's or something,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm like
Amazon.
shopping.
Wife got an Amazon dress. I got an Amazon tux. So we are supporting Katy Perry going to space.
Oh my God. And so funny story. I'll end on a Jen Rob story. She won't be in the chat this week, but so like 4 days before the wedding, her and her sister, we went to the Mall of America. She went shopping. They went to a bunch of stores, tried on dresses, got a couple dresses. She looked amazing. She was a knockout. But then as we're getting closer to the wedding, she was a little worried because they were more form-fitting, and like we don't dress up, and like I thought she looked good because it made her chest look really big and whatnot. And then she's like, well, I don't want to look like a hoochie. So the other day she woke up at 3 a.m. and she's like, I want to make sure I'm looking classy, not hoochie. And so she orders like 2 or 3 new dresses, and I get up at like 4:30, and she was still kind of up and tired, and she's like, oh yeah, I woke up at 3 a.m. I had to order a dress. I'm like, you ordered new dresses at 3 a.m. They came the last couple days. She tried them on. She looks even better in these dresses, and I can see where it doesn't make her look as chesty, and that might look more professional in a wedding, but she looks she looks amazing, and I'm so excited. And excited to hang out with you and the wife, Todd, and Mikey and Will. Like, we just don't get to hang out that much.
I mean, for a group of guys to run a business together and never see one another, this will be a good weekend.
Yeah. Todd and I joke like Fridays are like hang out, recap the business day, and hang out with all the audience. So it's our favorite hour of the week, folks. And we're glad that you let us be a part of your Fridays.
All right. That was a Minnesota goodbye. That was like 10 minutes of signing off here. Folks, I'm going to put a nail in the coffin here. Thanks for watching the recording of the podcast. Jason and I are back next Friday live, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, with pictures from the wedding. So make sure you tune in next Friday.